Hello and good morning to everyone. I'm so glad to have you with me this morning. We're going to be looking at a couple of news stories. We're going to take a look back to about 6 months ago, where we had produced a story specifically dealing with the transplant world. There was a story, and we're going to go ahead and play it for you just to get you right into what it is that we're talking about. But there was a story that we did about 6 months ago dealing specifically with the transplants of pig organs into human beings. Now, this doesn't seem like it's anything new to anybody, but I am going to go on ahead first and play the video just to get you up to where we are, and then we're going to go directly into the news portion so that we're all on the same page, okay? I hope that everybody is well. Let's just get right into it. Forced organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners and other political prisoners in China has raised increasing concern within the international community. According to a report by former lawmaker David Kilgore, human rights lawyer David Matas, and journalist Ethan Gutman, political prisoners, mainly Falun Gong practitioners, are being executed on demand in order to provide organs for transplant to recipients. The organ harvesting has taken place both as a result of the Chinese Communist Party's persecution of Falun Gong and because of the financial incentives available to institutions and individuals involved in the trade. Now, China has been investing heavily in controversial research on using genetically modified pigs as a source of human organ transplantation, touting it as a world-first achievement. Now, I know if you're like me, you're asking, how could they do this? Well, Xenotransplantation. It's a medical procedure whereby animal organs are transplanted into humans. And according to a Xinhua report that was published September of 2020, gene editing related startups in China alone had received the equivalent of $310 million in funding. Get this, I want you to hold on to this really carefully because this is important. Luhan Yang is the founder of Quihan Biotech in Hangzhou, China. She's also the co-founder and chief scientist of the Cambridge gene editing company eGenesis in Boston, Massachusetts. She and a team of scientists have created a prototype xenograft with clinical potential, successfully solving two of the major xenograft safety challenges. Now, the first one was removing porcine endogenous retroviruses from pigs and enhance xenograft immunocompatibility. Now, Yang's research was also published in Nature Biomedical Engineering in September of 2020. The co-authors of the paper include, get this, Quihan Biotech, Harvard University, Massachusetts General, eGenesis in Boston, Massachusetts, and Yunnan Agricultural University in China. The paper describes how CRISPR-Cas9 knockout and transposon gene insertions technologies were used to modify a group of genetic cassettes in pigs to further enhance the pig's immunological compatibility and blood coagulation compatibility with humans. The paper says, quote, "The engineered pigs exhibit normal physiology, fertility, and germline transmission of the 13 genes and the 42 alleles edited," close quote. Prior to this, there had been several technological breakthroughs in genetically modifying pigs to make organs more suitable for human transplantation, several of which resulted from the work of Yang's mentor at Harvard Medical School, Professor George Church. Now, as a little side note, something that I thought was unique, Church has been an outspoken individual as it relates to following a vegan lifestyle for reasons concerned with health and environmental and moral issues. But I just thought that that was a bit unique, that this is something that he believes in, not eating animals. But in 2015, Yang, along with Church, founded eGenesis in Boston, which received $38 million and $100 million in 2 rounds of funding in 2017 and in 2019, and another $125 million in March of 2021 in a third investment round. There's somebody pouring a lot of money to figure out how to make chimera, human chimera. 1 Corinthians 15:39 says, "All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one flesh of man, and another flesh of beasts, and another of the fish and of the birds." So no matter what you do, you could never be the Most High Yah. Remember, we've been here before. This has been tried time and time again. And the last time it was water. The next time, it'll be fire. This is Felicia Lockhart, and this has been the Lockhart Perspective.
The Lockhart Perspective.
Okay, so as you can see, I did that about 6 to 8 months ago. They say it's 6 months ago here on YouTube, but for whatever reason, it seems like shy a couple of days. So as Jonathan was just so, he was very, very astute in mentioning that they've just done the same thing. So here is my part 2 of that, and I just want to bring that to you. Now, there may be, like Jonathan, a lot of people who know about it. But I think what we need to do is we need to really take a big, big look at this, because we already know that predictive things are done. They predict and they tell you so that you are sort of softened to everything, right? So that you're sort of softened to it. We're going to get right into the news story, okay? All right, so it looks as if this gentleman, the first ever pig to human heart transplant, offers hope for thousands in need, is what the article says. The article comes from Newsbreak, but it was published and printed in USA Today about a day ago. Karen Weintraub is the individual who's written it. All right, a Maryland man who has lived for 3 days with a pig heart beating inside of his chest. That's what this is all about. The surgery at the University of Maryland Medical Center marks the first time a gene-edited pig has been used as an organ donor. Dave Bennett, 57, agreed to be the first to risk the experimental surgery, hoping that it would give him a shot at making it home to his Maryland duplex and to his beloved dog Lucky. Quote, "This is nothing short of a miracle," his son David said on Sunday, 2 days after his father's life-extending surgery. "That's what my dad needed, and that's what I feel he got." This is David and his surgeon right here, okay? It goes on to say that in the 9-hour surgery, doctors replaced his heart with one from a 1-year-old, 240-pound gene-edited pig. Please keep your finger on that term, gene-edited, because the story that we just heard told you how they edited it, spliced them together, part human, part pig, and then they bred the pig. So the pig was bred specifically for this purpose. Bennett is breathing on his own without a ventilator, though he remains on an ECMO machine that does about half the work of pumping his blood throughout his body. The doctors plan to slowly wean him off of this. Scientists have worked for decades to figure out how to save human lives with animal organs. More than 100,000 people sit on organ transplant wait lists, suffering terrible symptoms and side effects. About 6,000 of them die every year waiting in vain for something or someone else's tragedy to provide them with a kidney, a heart, or a lung. Pigs have similar organs to humans. If those organs could be used in transplants, the waiting would end. This story concerns me on many levels, and I'll tell you why. It continues, people who would never be considered candidates for transplants, who would never make it to one of those transplant lists, could look forward to family dinners, playing with their kids or their grandkids, and simply going back to their lives. They always want to tell things to us as going back to your normal life, going back to your life. Take this pig's heart, take this pig's lungs, take this pig's kidneys, so you can get back to normal life. Okay. The story continues with, that's the promise of so-called xenotransplantation, and the field took a major leap toward Bennett's surgery forward with his surgery this past Friday. It goes on to say that this is truly remarkable. It's a remarkable breakthrough, said Robert Montgomery, a transplant surgeon at NYU Langone, and a heart transplant patient himself. He goes on to say that I'm thrilled with this news and the hope that it gives to my family and other patients who will eventually be saved by this breakthrough, closed quote. In September, Montgomery moved to work forward by becoming the first to transplant a pig's kidney into a person, but in that case, and a subsequent surgery in December, the person had been declared brain dead. Montgomery kept the body functioning via machine for more than 2 days each time, showing that the human immune system would not immediately reject the kidney from a gene-edited pig. The Maryland procedure, it goes on to say, takes what we did in September of 2021 to the next level, Montgomery said. And at that point, the race was on. Others in the field were supportive, but a bit envious. We've all been doing this for a really long time, and I'm sure that it's got to be fun to be the first, says Joseph Tector, a transplant surgeon and xenotransplantation researcher at the University of Miami. Tector, who focuses on kidney transplant, said that he's waiting until he's confident that he can provide reliable, durable results, so that when we do it, we can help everybody. The animal rights activists object to the use of pigs' organs. There would be more human organs available. Now get this. There would be more human organs available for transplant if the authorities assumed that everyone was an organ donor unless they opted out instead of an opt-in system. Now, we're gonna leave that there because that's the whole deal. We're gonna make you give your stuff over. We're gonna make you do this. So don't even ask. Don't even ask for people to opt into it. Just make it just everyone's a donor, period. The selling of this thought process to make you protected and to help you is really, really, really creepy. It's really creepy. Okay? Did they care for the patient or the procedure? Here's what they did. When they gave him, hello, disciple of the Messiah, when they gave him the body part, he's doing fine at this point, right? But when they gave it to him, there was some precursors to let us know that this story really is predictive. Because there's a few pieces here I'm going to read to you right now that'll literally show you exactly what they thought about this particular candidate to have a human heart prior to giving him this pig's heart. Now, there are few people who have ethical concerns, right? The animal trials are essential to begin a new therapy in humans, said Reverend Tadusik Pachulakek. I think that's his name. I apologize if it isn't. Director of Education at the National Catholic Bioethics Center in Philadelphia. Despite years of research, quote, there are sure to be many more twists and turns along the road of getting our immune system to play nice with implanted animal organs. I suspect that this is a first step on the journey from yesterday's scientifically unimaginable into today's barely achievable to tomorrow's standard of care. The patient experience. Now here gets into Robert's question that he just mentioned. I think it was Robert. I'm not sure. I'll double check, but I'm on the other side right now. Bennett, who has been relatively healthy most of his life, began having severe chest pains in October, his son said. He went into the University of Maryland Medical Center with severe fatigue and shortness of breath. Quote, he couldn't climb 3 steps, said David, a physical therapist who understood the seriousness of his dad's condition. There's Dad, there's David, the son, and apparently a female person here. Who is this? Looks like the daughter. Yeah, the kids. Okay. Now, 2 months of trying to save Bennett's own heart did not work. A handful of transplant programs, either formally or informally, rejected him for a heart transplant. He was deemed ineligible for an artificial heart pump because of uncontrollable arrhythmia. About 3,000 Americans a year are lucky enough to get a new heart, and 20% of those who do make the wait list die waiting or become too ill to receive one. Well, Bennett didn't qualify for the list because he had not followed doctors' orders, missing medical appointments and discontinuing prescribed medication. History has shown that people with that kind of track record don't do well with an organ transplant. So he's not going to be well for a human transplant. We don't want to do that. But he can have a pig heart. He can get a pig heart. There's nothing wrong with the pig heart, right? Okay. They don't do well. At first, Bennett did not want to participate in the experimental surgery. He had worked odd jobs his whole life, pool repairs, car maintenance, painting, depending on his physical strength. But 2 months in the hospital, had made any kind of surgery risky. He did not want to die on an operating table. Bennett had a change of heart, his son said, when he realized that he would probably never be able to leave the hospital otherwise. So we're not going to let you go. You're not going to get a human heart, but we got a piggy heart for you. All right. It continues with, he knew that this was his best option. He's a fighter and has a desire to live. Although Bennett has a long way to go, David said that he's optimistic about his father's future. Quote, "My dad has told both of his sisters and myself, don't worry, God is holding my hand. I believe there's a continued reason to be hopeful," is what David says, because of his religion. Even if it doesn't change his outcome, the surgery allows Bennett to leave a legacy, David said, regardless of what happens. "I want to help other people," Bennett told his son before surgery. Bennett had a pig valve implanted almost a decade ago, and bacon is his favorite food. So the idea of receiving a part from a pig didn't bother him much, David said, although he still hopes to be able to get a human heart. Perhaps after 6 months of showing that he can follow the doctor's orders, he'll be a better candidate for a heart transplant. And the pig heart will serve only as a bridge. Here's a quote from Dr. Bartley Griffith. Quote, "The last evening I talked with the patient, he said, 'I really want to have a human heart.' I said, 'I want you to have a human heart. It would drive us crazy to take that nice pig heart out, but it would be your choice,' closed quote. The hardest part of undertaking such experimental surgery, Griffith said, was talking to Bennett beforehand. You're not afraid of demonstrating to the FDA and the hospital and to your chairman and to your partners that you're ready because you've got the confidence in that, in yourself," he said. "I think the fear is in being honest. I think the fear is in being honest to your patient." The trigger words in this have got me set off, all right? The surgery was experimental and its outcome was uncertain. Quote, "You've got to tell the patients that in essence, we're ready for liftoff," Griffith said, adding that others compared him to a shuttle astronaut. But I kept reminding people that we're in the control room. It's the patients who's shot to the moon. I don't think I can read any more of this. The link will be down below in the description. I've got to stop because I can see what's going on. So they're really, really trying to just soften you up and butter you up to let you know we've had the conversations. It's okay. Bacon is delicious, so it was all right with him. He'd have a problem with it. It's all good. Don't worry. This is a hot rump mess. It's a hot rump mess. But with that in mind, this is definitely attempting to play God on so many levels. In every place we turn now, we're turning doctors into God. All right. So now I'm going to do one more story because I got to get off of this one because it's going to drive me batty, batty, batty. But here's another story that I saw sort of creeping around. And I wanted to actually let all of us see the actual place that it comes from. And I want you to see what it does not say. All right? But first, before we do that, let me look at a few of your comments because I get such glee. Hey, Derek, how are you? I would have had a serious issue with a pig's organ in me. I think a lot of us would. Christ soldier. Hi, Felicia. God bless you. May the peace of Jesus Christ be with you. Thank you for that, my friend. In listen mode. Respect to Headlines with a Voice, listening to you live on their tube from Philadelphia. Thank you. Thank you. Joy, how are you? Yeah, that's them bringing the Vaseline, LOL. Elizabeth, his dog will want to, I think that's eat, or is it ear, the art pig? Sorry. Okay, I get it. All right. Let's see. The ancient Hebrews knew pigs were human. That's why they did not eat them. Ancient knowledge. Okay. All right. It happened there in the link for the pig heart transplant. Okay. All right. So I see some of what you're saying. Daryl Calhoun, how are you? It's good to see you. Alrighty, I would think that the body would reject an animal's organs. Imagine the drugs needed to suppress the immune system. Well, imagine how much that surgery cost. And imagine how much they went through to cajole him to do this. As we can see very early on in the conversations between he and his doctors, the little bit that they did allow us to see, it would appear that they sort of had him, and he admitted that he was a little bit between a rock and a hard place, right? All right, now the next story that I am going to read to you, based on what they say as a reason to be permitted to read it, I will not be able to give you my opinion. And I will ask that you be respectful for your opinions so that I can pull more. But I'm not able to edit it. I'm not able to do anything to it. I'm not able to say what I think in a negative fashion. All right. So I want to go on ahead. Hey, Anthony Van Zant, good brother friend. How are you? Yeah, they are. They are. Bassy Stitch. They are. They are. So here goes the next story. I did not want to do the stories that are circulating because I wanted to come directly from them as opposed to getting everybody else's idea about it. This comes from Darpa. Okay? This comes from Darpa. And we are going to read the Darpa's resource program turns waste into purified products, and then hyphen food. All right? And based on an agreement from them, if you ever use any of their stuff, you cannot, do anything but read the information. And I'll allow you to just think of what you want to think about it, but here it is. All right, I'm going to be on the other side, folks. DARPA's resource program turns waste into purified products, food. Next phase of the program is to focus on developing integrated systems and scale up capabilities for producing on-demand stocks from military waste. Outreach at DARPA Mill is where you can write for this. 11/29/21 was when it was published, and it goes on to read. Let me pull it up a little larger so that you guys are able to see it as well. Okay, I think that should be comfortable on your eyes over there. Launched in 2021, DARPA's resource program aims to revolutionize how the military procures critical supplies on the battlefield by engineering self-contained, integrated systems that rapidly produce large quantities of supplies from feedstock collected on site. Performer teams are tasked with developing systems to break down mixed waste, including common plastics, reformulate the waste at the molecular level into strategic materials and chemicals, and recover purified usable products such as oils, lubricants, POLS, and edible micronutrients. The program is now entering its second phase. In the first phase, teams from Battelle, Iowa State University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Michigan Technology University, or MTU, in addition to government partners, successfully established proof of concept studies toward the invention of integrated novel waste conversion processes. Battelle partners at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or the NREL, were featured in the Science magazine. And resource performers at MTU, along with researchers at the University of Illinois, were awarded the coveted 2021 Future Insight Prize for using microbes to degrade plastics waste and produce protein to generate micronutrients ready for immediate consumption. Darpa is working with the Food and Drug Administration to ensure all relevant safety guidelines are adhered to and regulatory standards are met. Quote, part of what makes Darpa special is that we de-risk technologies to enable scientific innovation, closed quote. This is noted by Dr. Blake Beckstein, Resource Program Manager. He continues with, all of the teams have passed their Phase 1 demonstration tests, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store for Phase 2, closed quote. In the Phase 2, performer teams will build on Phase 1's accomplishments to develop integrated systems which leverage innovative engineering to function under less optimal conditions with increased masses of waste to process and a reduced energy allowance. Possible approaches could include performing pilot tests with simple mixtures to prepare for an in-phase demonstration at scale. Results should give a good indication that multiple waste streams types in a mixture can be converted to upgradable organic intermediate molecules, and use these molecules to demonstrate significant or sufficient purity by generating at least one product, food, and or POLS by end of Phase 2. Quote, there is more energy in the packaging of an MRE, or a meal ready to eat, than the MRE itself, added Bexton. Through Resource, we are using science to solve the DoD's plastic waste dilemma while supporting humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, stabilization operations in resource-limited environments. Additional information on the Darpa Resource Program is available, and the link will be left down below in the description. All of the image captions are here, and the information with regards to being able to read this is also going to be left there for you. So let me clear this off of the screen so that I can just basically say, let me clear it out completely. There. Hi, Marty Lauderdale. It's good to see you. Let's first of all see what you guys think about this, because it really does remind me of a movie. It really does. Did you know that half of the rice that you get from China is plastic already? Yes, I did know that. I did a story about that about maybe 2 years ago. Yes, I did. It's creepy, right? You see, like every other grain is plastic. Recycled Barbie dolls, whatever they have that is made of plastic, that's literally in the in their area there, is what they're able to use. I think it's very safe to understand also. It's very, it's important to understand that these things are always started there in military settings or other settings that are more controlled, and then they roll them out to the masses because, well, that's what they do. Like, we trust the FDA, come on. Baby Stitch. Same as paper. Yes. Yes. You know what? There are a lot of people, Daryl, that will be covering this, but the purpose that I go directly to them as opposed to blogs or other things is because I don't want the confusion. I'd like for it to be, crystal clear. Not that I know this person or I've seen, what they've done exactly. I will just say that, yes, I know there are a lot of people, and I'm glad that there are, because there need to be a lot more people covering this information. What could go wrong, Susan says. Ingesting plastic. Oh, that will be good for the gut. You know what I think? I think there are a lot of things that we are ingesting right now that just seem to make us bigger.
and that's it. It just makes us bigger in the body. I think this stuff is adding into the body, and because the body can't figure out what to do, it literally just sits there. I could be wrong. I'm not a researcher, but that's just what I'm thinking. Okay? Hello, Timothy Contreras. It's good to see you. Okay? Red, Crimson, and Clover over and over. Has anybody seen that old movie? There's an old movie that I love, and I have it. I actually bought it. Hello, L. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All day. All day. And it's Soylent Green. It was one of my favorites. I literally purchased it. It's a really good one. And now our wild friends are in trouble. Beef, fish, and co-positive deer. Not food. No food in the wild. So, we did that story about a week ago. And a lot of people made excellent and valid points, especially over on the BitChute side. A lot of people on the BitChute side, because these are ported immediately to BitChute, as well as to a couple of other places. I know that it's Odyssey, BitChute, Library, a few other places. But a lot of people were saying that. And here's what I believe. What I think is all of that we know is the truth. That's absolutely right. That's what they want, But what I think is to take the information and sort of twist it around and say, all right, well, I see. Let me go ahead. And somebody said, I'm going to go buy all the food so that I can get it all right now. I'm going to go buy all the meat right now, somebody said. I was just wondering why I stopped eating rice about 5 years ago without knowing that. It's like I had a sixth sense. Music loving fool. It's called discernment, my friend, and just like macaroni and cheese from World War I, William Craig says. Yes, they have been. Yes. Sharing is caring. Yes. Okay. So now, you guys, let's get into the next one. You saw Soylent Green years ago. Real slap your mama moment, Joy Trujillo says. Yeah, it can be, right? Let's look at this, because there are two situations that are going on right now. One is going on in China, and then there's another one that's sort of the same going on in, well, let's just go ahead and look. This story, the credit of this story comes from the Epoch Times. This is their story that I'll be narrating and reading and sharing with you. It was published today, January 12th, 2022. Calgary. A cattle industry group says that it is hopeful a newly imposed import ban on Canadian beef by China and 2 other Asian countries will be temporary. The Canadian Cattlemen's Association confirmed Tuesday that China, which imports approximately 170 million of the Canadian beef annually, making it the industry's 3rd largest global market, has halted imports of beef from Canada following the discovery of an atypical case of BSE, or mad cow disease, on an Alberta farm last month. South Korea, which is worth about $90 million per year to Canada's beef industry, as well as the Philippines, which imports about $13 million in Canadian beef annually, have suspended imports. Quote, I wouldn't say that it's surprising, though we're hoping that this wouldn't happen, said Dennis Laycraft, the executive director in the Canadian Cattlemen's Association. He says in the continuance of his comment, we're hopeful that these will be very short durations, but it's a foreign regulator that you are dealing with in different time zones and different languages, close quote. The detection of the atypical case, which was announced in December, is Canada's first case of bovine spongiform encephalopathy in 6 years. A typical BSE develops spontaneously in about 1 in every 1 million cattle. It has been reported 6 times in the United States, most recently in 2018, as a number of other countries. A number of other countries. Unlike the classic BSE strain, which has been linked to fatal neurological disorder, looks like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Pardon me for not saying that correctly, but it looks like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Atypical BSE pose no threat to humans and is not transmissible. Okay. The Alberta government stated in December, when it was announced the discovery of these cases, that it was not expected to have market impacts. All right. But Latecraft said while there is no reason for a case of atypical BSE to result in trade restrictions, some countries are extra cautious and want Canada to provide additional information about the affected animal. China also closed its borders to Brazilian beef last fall after the country reported a case of the atypical strain. That closure lasted 3 months. The discovery of the atypical case is not expected to negatively affect Canada's status as a negligible risk country for BSE, as determined by the World Organization of Animal Health, or the OIE. Canada was awarded for the preferential status in 2021-18, years after the mad cow crisis devastating the Canadian agriculture. It's estimated that the crisis, which began with the discovery of a single case of the typical BSE in Alberta ranch on 2003, cost Canada between $4.9 billion and $5.5 billion as international borders slammed shut to the Canadian products. Well, I wonder, are we taking any of that? Since then, the Canadian beef industry and the Canadian government have worked to diversify and develop new markets for this country's beef. Latecraft said with the loss of the Chinese market, Canada is still seeing a good demand from the key markets like the U.S. What did I just say? Japan, Mexico, and Vietnam. Quote, "We're not as vulnerable as we were years ago to specific market closures, so I think that it depends on how long the markets take to open back up again. But I believe this could be resolved in weeks. It could be days, but it should be no more than weeks," close quote. Now, I'm going to go down here to another one of these quotes because I think that's from Patrick Gearyard. Canada has proactively engaged with trading partners to provide information about this detection and maintain confidence in Canada's safeguards against the BSE. The government of Canada is confident in the strength of Canada's BSE safeguards and the safety of Canadian beef. The story by Amanda Stevenson is here, and the link will be down below in the description. The closing portion of this says the atypical BSE cow was euthanized on the farm and did not enter the food or animal feed chain. Now, let's ask these questions. Are we surprised that most recently we have seen story after story after story about food not being edible any longer? Having problems with beef, having problems with salad. I have stories that have problems with ice cream, with every single thing that you could possibly eat. And here's what I'm going to say. Do not walk in fear. Bless your food. You didn't know what you were getting, unless it's something that if you've already eaten it, you can pray over yourself. But if you're not, and you've not eaten it, and you need to throw it out, throw it out. Do whatever you need to do. But be very aware of what is being done. Because these things don't happen in a vacuum, and it's not by accident. It's not. It's not by accident that every single day I'm getting an alert that says that there's something wrong with food. The food supply chain is shortening and it's getting really bad. There's a real big problem. And now you can't eat the fish. You can't eat the salad. You can't eat the ice cream. The deer, you don't go hunting. Don't go fishing. Don't. Fear is a major, major promoter. If you fall into fear, how on the planet are you able to move in faith at the same time? I believe that it's possibly impossible to do that. So stay in faith. Stay in faith. Trust the Father. Bless your food. Bless your household. Okay? Daryl, that's the point, right? Okay. All right. So now let's look at another thing dealing with the food. I bring these things for knowledge and information because we need to know what to pray for and we need to know exactly what to expect. This is an important thing for our eyes to be awakened to. All right? So let's take a peek. We got two stories that we're going to take a peek into. Okay? This one right here. But I think I want to do another one for you first. No, let's take a peek in the candy. Let's go to the candy world. Before we do that, I also want to make sure that I'm being cognizant of the fact that you guys are taking your time to put your comments up. So let's say we only got about 10 more minutes. We're in 39 minutes in, but we only have a few more minutes. I have a condition that rejects fake. I have a few things I can eat and ask God to clean it before every meal. Hallelujah. Yes and amen. That's right. Michael Lorette, Dr. McCrin is indeed a spot on. He nailed it earlier. Good guy, though not for the easily triggered. Okay, well, considering that corrupt media and some journalists are responding by Big Pharma, 70% of the ad revenue by pharma. So there you go. Yeah, it is. And every commercial, right? Actual Ariel. Okay. All right. All right. So that's what we've got to do. We don't walk in fear. We use the information that we need to equip ourselves the way that we need to be equipped. You go down on your knees in prayer and you talk to the Father. The Holy Spirit will reveal to you. The Ruach HaKodesh will reveal to you what needs to be done in your household. Period. Just take the information and just, make ourselves a little more aware. That's all. So this comes from the Los Angeles Times. Let me make it a little larger so that you guys can see this, so that you can read it along with me, okay? So what have we got going here? Take a peek inside the Sugar Labs 3D printing candy shop. It goes from bad to worse. All right? All right? This was written by Stephanie Brigio, a staff writer for the Los Angeles Times, and it was done on December the 5th, 2021. The link, of course, will be down in the description of the finished product here. So there's something Willy Wonka-esque happening in an industrial studio at the edge of Lincoln Heights. Tiny truffles, sugar cubes, and dissolving drink additions that can infuse a cocktail with glittery bitters are being built seemingly out of thin air, one layer at a time in a whirling machines that create intrinsic, edible, colorful foods. You won't encounter a top-hatted candy magnet at Sugar Lab, a 3D printing confectionery where science meets sweets. Instead, there's a small team of architects, designers, and chefs who tinker with sugar sculptures and recipes, building with modded and food-safe 3D printers that are more typically used for metalworking. Large-scale sugar sculptures and branded custom treats are made for chefs and companies, while the tiniest, most dainty candies with themes such as holidays or Koreatown can be purchased on the company's website. While many 3D printed candies start as sugar pastes, Sugar Labs print with fine powdered sugar as well as dehydrated spices and vegetables to produce treats like peppermint flavored latte cups, which are piped with mocha chocolate later in the process, or tart lime or salt, whatever this word is, masks that are filled with caramelized pineapple ganache. All right? They have whimsical, surprising feels appropriate for a company that was born of a what-if moment. This is one of them, right? Well, how about this? There is now a way to make, as you already know, 3D printed things like steaks, 3D printed steak and potatoes, 3D printed everything, right? So we have got to really, really keep our eyes open for stuff like this. In 2011, the Sugar Lab founder, Chief Executive Kyle Von Haslin, who was an architectural student who found himself more fascinated with design than the practice of building. While studying in Southern California Institute of Architecture, he familiarized himself with the communal 3D printers on campus and decided to invest in one for himself. Quote, I wanted to start experimenting with 3D printers, kind of hacking them and seeing what else I could print with, he says. He purchased the 3D printer size of a dining room table, flew to Colorado to retrieve it, drove back to California, and then parked it. at his house. But von Haslen didn't start with sugar. He laid the groundwork for his experimentation with sawdust and cement. Then he had an epiphany. Just to be kind of cheeky because it was inexpensive, I tried sugar. It worked pretty well. It was like a C plus, while all the other materials were like a D or an F. And it was beautiful. It was kind of translucent. I was using table sugar at the time, and months later I started to realize, okay, and we actually rebuilt this printer carefully to be FDA and NSA or NSF, National Sanitation Function certified. What would it be like to have a design firm for chefs? He started out printing in all white monochrome. His first shape was simple, probably a small cube. The first creation that made him realize that he might actually have a business was a 3D printed sugar tiara that adorned a cupcake for his sister-in-law with her name written in cursive. It was creative, with a mouse on a laptop, a blend of water and sugar, and maltodextrin, a vegetable starch which helps to act as a binding agent. Well, this is what he did. But for the sake of time, I'm going to let you know that I will come back and I'm going to show you guys the other company that is doing something else with a 3D printer. In tandem with that, I'd like to take a look at the new mealworms, and the little cockroaches that Mr. Gates, and you know,
This is him for me. I consider this Bill Gates because, you guys used to pick on me so much. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pick on you. You're going to be eating worms and roaches. That's what this cat is doing. Anyway, Music Loving Fool says, I wonder if they combine 3D printing with CRISPR technology, as they both started around 2011, if we have ingested some of these experiments without our knowledge. Yes, I'm sure we have, but isn't our God wonderful? Isn't our Father wonderful the way that he protects us? Do you see how marvelously and wonderfully made we are? We're made wonderfully. I'm going to let you guys go right now. But, Marty Lauderdale, you get me. Everybody don't get me. If you're ready to run me out of here. But with that said, I just want to thank everybody. Anthony Van says plastic equals toxicity equals viral disease and illness, population reduction, and a silent call in Lucy in the details, selling it to us to try to pull it off on our own hand. What a coincidence. Less faith, good thing too. So I want you guys to just stay in prayer, you all. Just stay in prayer. These things are nothing to get upset about. It's nothing for us to get mad, but sometimes it does make me a little, but we have to stay in prayer. Okay, you guys? All right. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for the last 48 minutes of your life. I appreciate that. You didn't have to let me have it, but you did. And so, news, not on the news. Against the grain. Thank you, channel. Explosion in China. 23 minutes into the video to save you time. Girl, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and look at that. Well, you know that we're doing a lot of those tests, Tammy, with Korea. Wasn't Korea like going around and round and round? Well, I'm going to go check that out. I appreciate all of you all, and I appreciate all of your kindness and your love, and you're just you guys are just awesome. So thanks so much. You guys remember what we always say, that man shall not live by bread alone. I got to race and go get this girl's story. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. You guys continue to take care of yourselves and take care of one another. Until we see each other again, please be blessed.
Lockhart Perspective.